Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Sunshine. Today, we're diving into the heart of spirituality, which is that you, no matter your religion, beliefs, or not beliefs, are connected with all things, that you are one with life itself, with divinity, with Providence, even how everything plays out. You are actually a co creator with whatever you want to call the higher power, whatever you want to call the universe besides the universe, whatever you want to call spirit, you are a co-creator with that. And even the things that you haven't really enjoyed about life, you, in a way, chose them so that you could level up. You, in a way, your higher self, you could say, align things so that you will bloom into something magnificent, which I'm sure you've already started to do already. So thank you for joining us today at Spiritual Sunshine. We're going to dive into this topic and also take some time to reflect on what it means to meditate. Because I can't say I'm the best meditator. I'm not. In fact, I'm someone who struggles to really take some time out to meditate. Now, on the other hand, I find it really helpful, the idea that you can actually meditate at any moment. We'll talk more about that and maybe do a little exercise with it. So stay tuned. This is where a lot of channels would have an ad or something, or like a splash page. And we used to have a splash intro and outro and stuff. But, Spiritual Sunshine, we're all about clarity here and just shining. So no splash page today. Just diving right into what it means to be one with all things. This is something we bring up a lot at Spiritual Sunshine because, in today's day and age, it's kind of hard to really wrap our heads around all the different spiritualities, religions, viewpoints that everyone has, the conspiracy theories, the actual conspiracies that are coming out, the craziness in politics, wherever you are. I'm sure you have crazy politics, whatever country, and especially here in the US, we definitely do. It's kind of hard to wrap our heads around all these things. So I find it really just peace-giving, really just a blessing to understand that in a way your higher self is laying all of this out. Now, this is true in many traditions. They have different ways of putting it. So it's something we should keep in mind, that many traditions, perhaps yours, perhaps mine, have described this in other ways, such as everything goes according to God's plan. One that some of us don't really like too much, but some of us really find empowering. One that also I think is something we can circle back to and maybe shed some new light on that phrase later in this video. Or, in our traditions, it could also be said, well, the Lord's providence is governing everything, or it all serves the greater good in the end. It all serves a higher purpose. In Swedenborgian circles, which is the denomination that Spiritual Sunshine, this organization, Spiritual Sunshine, not your Spiritual Sunshine, which is divine as well, but this organization calls from. We are part of a Swedenborgian denomination that believes that you should think however you want. And all Swedenborgians should think however they want. That's like the bottom, this is like the foundation of the tradition, despite it being a Christian mystical tradition for most people, because Swedenborg, the obvious namesake of the tradition, was a Christian mystic, but a big part of his spirituality and teaching spirituality was to highlight whoever you are, whatever you call yourself, you have your own beliefs, even if you pretend not to have different beliefs than other people. or you just don't think about it. But that's not really having a belief. That's saying XYZ preacher gets to tell me what to think and they're always right or something, which I do not recommend for anybody. So it's a big part of Swedenborg's idea is that not only should you think however you want and really find truth for yourself and lean into that and find love through that truth, which is actually just your nature, but also he believed people of all faiths are in heaven, connect to heaven, have heaven and God and divinity and goddess and um, the divine human, all the terms that he used for God. Creatrix is one he used in Latin, um, and others as well. That is within each of us, and so no matter your tradition, if you live a good life oriented towards helping others and truth in some way, at least deep down, eventually you'll make your way to heaven after this life. And I suspect he also believed that even those who go to hell, there's reincarnation eventually because of some things he wrote early on about reincarnating. But, whether or not he believed that does not matter, really, in the end. I do believe in reincarnation and that there's a journey for each of us that, winds us up in a heavenly paradise eventually. But his point still stands that it has to be our natural state, that paradise that we find ourselves in eventually, to really be heaven, to really be everlasting and a place where we can continue to grow and find our leading edge. It has to reflect what's within us, because if we're evil within and want to destroy everyone, we're just really in a heavenly paradise. We're just pretending, right? We're not really being our true selves. We're not able to express ourselves. So eventually we have to actually have that within for it to really shine outside, and especially for us to see it, because otherwise we won't even really see it. We could be in heaven now, some say, but how would we know? We have to become that heaven. So Swedenborg was a big proponent of interfaith idealism, really. Interfaith, plurality, pluralism, whatever the terms are you want to use. I like interfaith because really he's trying to speak to something that's at the core of many traditions. But whatever the word is, we can see that through that lens that God is shining through each of us, we can find a reality where we come to understand our true will is God's will. And really, we don't have to build up the truth within ourselves or the love to really find God. That love is already there. We may have to, treat certain parts of our minds we're used to taking seriously a little less seriously. We may have to let some thoughts pass, have their expression maybe, if that's what happens, but let it go. We may have to do certain techniques to really brush off the dust on our inner book of life, our inner divinity at the core of that book of life. And that love that really is our soul, is the source of our spirit. But it's there. And even if we take a very scientific point of view on this, we can come to see that all things are actually one in the universe. Our dissecting and separating and analyzing, which you can do with anything pretty much infinitely. Even an atom, you can do that many levels down, and we haven't even come to the bottom of that. I'm wearing a lot of rings today, so it's hitting my chair, if you guys can hear that. I'm really celebrating my marriage today. No, I am celebrating my marriage every day, but playing with the little one during the day, you sometimes put on some fun things. I think I like this though, wearing all three. So that aside, we can come to see that all decisions, all of what happens in the universe, even far away from us, is a one. That in fact, there had to be an entire universe for you to be the way you are. This universe had to be the way it is, pretty much, for this solar system to be the way it is, for our planet to be the way it is. I mean, think about the infinite things that could change how it is, right? Every second. Or even mean that there is no human life on this planet. I mean, it's mind-blowing when you really dwell on it, and it really highlights the beauty of living, of being. Now, that's something we can see in ourselves when we just let go of the narration, of the inner dialogue that can't help but just tie into, all the scripts that our minds have laid out over the years, all the trauma bonding and exposition, all the impressions from TV shows that really don't have our best interests at heart most of the time. They're producers, they're the higher ups especially. Whatever it is from our past that is bringing out our thoughts, we really have to let go of the thoughts to really let go of those things. We don't really realize they're connected. We may think we got over X, Y, and Z, but we're still ruminating in certain ways and reacting because of it, right? And because of so many other things in our lives, very differently than someone else might react. And even if it's similar to a lot of people, many of us have anxiety, we have depression, we have a lot of fear, especially with the news the way it is today and every day nowadays. And so to really overcome that, if you're really serious about overcoming that fear, that sense of disconnection, you have to, it's kind of obvious if you think about it, you have to lean in to an awareness of the connectedness, of the unity, instead of the disparate seemingness, the division seemingness of everything. Easier said than done, right? Because it's reinforced, we're separate. They have other ideas. They want to destroy this country. They want to undermine this right that you have. They want to control you, And we can feel that even just within a household. Because people do want to control what seems outside of them. They feel like they have no control over what threatens their interests, they think are their interests. But really, our highest interest, the most peace, the most satisfaction we'll ever have, is by finding the Sabbath day, the peace at our core. It's one thing I love about Swedenborg, is he takes everything in the Bible and makes it a consistent spiritual allegory. Not just in the sense that, you can use it this way and this way. He's very consistent, at least with his approach a lot of the time anyway. There's some caveats there we can get into one day, but more to the point, in the 7-day creation story, instead of taking that story literally as a Christian mystical thinker, once a well-known scientist of his day, he took it all allegorically for human progress. And you could think of the 7 days of creation, a shortened version of the story of life, of all our lives, of us here and into the afterlife, whatever you want to think of it, of all the Bible even. It starts off this void with the waters, the darkened waters, but what hovers over the water is God. In our own lives, even in the darkness, what sees this darkness? What sees this despair? What sees these dark waters? Consciousness, the light of God. The light of God hovers over the waters. Now, this isn't exactly how Swedenborg put it. He used other types of terms and things, but bringing this more into how we might think of it today when we think of, what is our light? That's consciousness. That's what's always here. At least as far as I'm concerned, I'm never awake when I'm not awake. I'm never aware when I'm not aware, So it's the light of God. All these things come into the light of God. Even the worst person has this light, right? It says in the Bible and many other traditions that God shines on all beings, that God shines to all beings and ultimately through all beings. So the 7-day creation story starts there, and then slowly you get more life, more rejuvenation, and this is true for each of us. I'm sure if you're listening this far into this video, you've probably seen some ups and downs. It can be like a tree, right? A little bit of here, a little bit of there, but ultimately reaching towards the sunlight, reaching towards your inner light, which you always have, right? But the mind doesn't know that yet. The mind that we're seeing react, we get a sense of self that comes up, comes down, whatever. We see our thoughts. That's like the tree, but the consciousness that sees it is the sun, is the light. I mean, we connect light with awareness already, right? We connect light with consciousness in modern parlance. I see the light. Oh, I had a genius idea, a light bulb goes off, right? I mean, literally, when you see something in your mind, it's kind of like lighting up a room, because without the light, you couldn't see it. And so ultimately, the 7-day creation story is our own eventual journey to the Sabbath day, to the peace of finding, oh man, I put things together. I feel like a real person now. That's the 6th day, right? That's the 6th day. But letting that pride go, letting all the goodness of it go, and just finding the peace. That's the 7th day. Finding the peace of, hey, I'm just here. I seem to have some control over things, but really a lot of luck was involved. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, a lot of blessings, a lot of people helping, a lot of people from the past. I mean, we wouldn't have the infrastructure here in the US without slaves. I mean, literally, without prisoners, we don't think about those things. We wouldn't have the infrastructure. We wouldn't have a lot of the things that, if we really thought about, you might call socialism or communism or something, like police. We all pay for them. They help everybody. And yet people who don't like communal programs love police. So it's, we're all full of hypocrisies. I am too. We're all full of hypocrisies. But that light is just there. It sees those things. It can connect dots sometimes. But when we get into all the trees, they can be dead. They can be dead because we're not really living. They're not receiving the light. We're too identified with the tree. We're too into what it means to be the tree. We don't think we need other things. We're not receiving the light the way we could be if we really acknowledged it, that is our very life. Not receiving water the way we could. In fact, the water, the light can seem to bog us down, can seem to destroy us. We can want to hide, decay, go into the ground. But we don't wish that for anyone, let alone ourselves, right? And so just seeing, it's as simple as just seeing that, oh, I am the light that shines on my mind. It's always there, whether the mind likes something or doesn't. My mind sees that. I can settle more into that part of myself and less into the reactive, things are going bad part of myself. When I start to feel like things are going a little shady, I don't need to. This is something Michael Singer said in a podcast I listened to recently. He's great, Michael Singer. Singer smelled. He might smell, I don't know what he smells like, I've never met him, but smelled like singing. Michael Singer, he's great. He said, I lost my train of thought. He said that's a good thing, right? Let's just let it go, right? Michael Singer would say, just let these things go as they come up. Because otherwise we get bogged down. When something starts to go weird, feelings start to go weird, you don't have to go and figure out where it's coming from. Oh, is this fear? Is this anger? Because Well, why is it anger? Oh, you probably already start thinking, oh, it's probably because of this thing's happening, and she's doing this or he's doing that, right? Our mind likes to run with these weird emotions and to bring us to a place of non-contentment. But letting it go as it comes, letting it live, but letting it just live its natural life, not its, crank up the gas. Man, I'm hate when I'm angry. Well, I'm not going to be angry because, I'm meditative right now, and so no anger and no. See, these things, when we take that approach where we're trying to control it, it just gets worse. It just gets worse and worse and worse. We're not happy with anything that's going on. What's going on outside, we want to stop or change. What's going on inside, we want to stop or change. That's the human condition today. That is our problem. And so we can overcome that just by seeing everything's one. I am the light of God. I'm consciousness. I'm love, ultimately. That spiritual sun is at the core of every being, that because it's life. Swedenborgian has visions of heavens, of all these paradises that make one, but different communities, different types of people, different types of beings, aliens, and so on. At their core, which also means at the highest point, because as you go higher in heaven, according to him, that's going with deeper within each of us, actually, not just those in heaven, but like deeper within each of us. And that height, at that core, is the spiritual sun, which is divine love and divine wisdom. It shines on all beings, even those who decide to make and stay in hell. Because this is the core and everything else is further out. So heaven's further out, get further and further out. I don't need to do the whole cosmology, but some of you might be interested, so I'll do it quickly. You have the world of spirits between heaven and hell, which also leads directly to the material realm, so that's kind of in between. We're interacted upon through both, whether materially, like, in our bodies, or spiritually, and then hell. Below that, further out. But a being in hell, the core is still, heaven is still what allows for anyone to live. Hell can't just live, it's not life. Someone in a hellish state, that's not living. The Lord allows it so that we can grow. I mean, we know it in our own lives. Why have hells come? Well, moments of hellish feelings and stuff come because we overcome, we grow stronger. In evolution, it might have been, in terms of earlier stages of our development, it might have just been a really hard winter. It might have been something's hunting us. That's a hell. We've probably felt pretty bad to be hunted, to lose our children, to whatever. But then we overcome. That strength, whether it's through an amoeba overcoming the ravages of the ocean that allowed for all life on the earth, or it's you overcoming the ravages of some past winter, some past time that allowed for you to bloom, and for you to empower others with wisdom, with your love, with new insights, or something that's going to become that even better, even more beautifully, even better than you could have imagined. So that's the purpose of it. But it can't live without the heaven that allows for all more external things to live. Heaven can't live without the spiritual sun that allows more external things to live. I mean, that's where all energy comes from. Just like in the solar system, all the energy of the plants and things, for the most part, come from the sun. Even the earth coalescing and making heat at its core and other things, it's because of, the sun in a lot of ways. So that's true within each of us. That light, that wholeness is there. I think that's a great relief. I think that's awesome, because trying to build up a bunch of love and make sure I get to a higher place in heaven because I'm building. Oh, I got to learn, get rid of all these things and da da da. No, it's actually just letting go in a way. The wisdom can just come, but more importantly, the love is there. The love is there because it's coming from the sun. And oh, wait, the wisdom's there too because that's the light. The love is like the heat. The wisdom's like the light. We don't have to build these things up. So let's end just by taking a moment. Just letting go of everything that comes, enjoying it when it comes, not fighting anything. Feelings, thoughts, sensations. Noticing when we're judging ourselves or others, judging a situation around us or within us, just letting that go. Why does it have to live so long? It's just a thought, it just comes up. Noticing when our sense of identity is wrapped up into something, that's why we're being pulled by it. Something's threatening our sense of identity or our goals for that sense of identity. Oh, I want to be more popular or reputable. So if this thing goes wrong, then people are going to think this, and oh my gosh. Just noticing those things, not fighting them, just being like, oh wait, this whole sense of self I've built, it's just something I experience. It's really just something I experience. Cool, because I don't have to be in that experience all the time. In fact, you can't be. It's always passing. Even when we're in trial, feelings are passing. But now we're just taking a moment to let them intentionally go a little more. When the feelings get weird, just letting it go, not going down the rabbit hole of weirdness, of fear or whatever. And if you do, just letting that go. It's so simple, it's kind of crazy. But like the Sabbath day, like the seventh day of creation, it's very simple. You're letting things go on the Sabbath day, right? They tell you not to do this and not to do that, not to do that, and oh, wait, make sure you're not working at this. What's that about? It's symbolic. Because you're letting things go. You're not working. You might work. You might work a lot. You might actually find yourself just full of energy and just getting stuff done, but you're not in a state of work, of trial, being outside of that Garden of Eden that is your very nature. No more trial to get something done. No more childbirth pains. And when they come up, it's a quick one. It's a baby you carry, you love. They're having fun. It's yourself. That baby, that inner child, when it cries, just let it just have its moment. Instead of fighting it. Instead of smothering it under, the carpet. Trying to brush it aside. It's living. Just let it have its moment. Let it go. This is something I find very easy as a non-meditator, but someone who really finds a sense of meditation all the time, just because I know it's better than not doing it. It feels better, not because it is like money wise or anything like that, or just how people think of it. No, it's just feels better. Why go into a bunch of tough situations and not be meditative? Life can be tough. But what is meditation? It's just letting it go. Coming up, letting go. Something comes up, let it go. Christ told us to turn within ourselves, to see that heaven is within us and in our midst. He used the term that said both at the same time. The Vedic tradition says all of creation is a god, and there's many gods within it. One's this universe, one's this part of our earth, part of our soul. Everything is like a hologram in that tradition, just like in science we're finding. It's all one. It's not meant to divide. It's actually saying, oh, there's like levels of how divinity acts, and it's all just this beautiful flow. So today, I hope if you can take anything from this video, if you've made it this far, which hats off to you, please subscribe, like, comment. It's always great. I'll be sure to respond. I hope you take away that you're the light, that you are one with everything, but also why you're one with everything. Spiritually, what's the ideas behind it? And physically, just we're one. It's heat exchange, gravity, the universe. Separating us from it is ignoring everything that's happening. Can't separate us from the universe. And more importantly, most importantly with that, just feeling that unity, because you're settling a little more, as I hope I am, into the peace of the light of God, of consciousness. Thing we all share. Cockroaches, my favorite example, as some of you know, ants, probably amoebas, probably particles even, who knows? We don't know where consciousness comes from. It's a lot of theories out there. You can go Google it. And that you see that really, when it comes down to it, like our mind that kind of gets in the weeds and we get too obsessive about thoughts and feelings, our traditions can do the same. Our religions can do the same. You know, those of us who hold other people to the fire when it comes to certain lines of thinking, you know, if it's not surgery, we can let it go a little more. If it's not literally an incision, we can allow people a little freedom to find their own way of thinking about things, because they're going to do it anyway. Everyone's the surgeon of their own lives, and unfortunately, you could say, or you know, beautifully, we're all given a lot of power in terms of our own lives. I mean, there's a lot of power in terms of your own life you have, right? And so today, let's just double down on wanting that peace, that Sabbath, and knowing that we don't have to build up to it, but more like let things grow, let things go, and we'll just find ourselves there. All right. Peace, and go forth knowing that you are loved and are loved.